everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am so glad you're here today. Today I am filming another Fiber Friday video, and I am going to jump into some of the fiber I that I bought at the Michigan Fiber Festival. I did a video a couple weeks ago on that. My daughter-in-law and I were able to go down and spend the day down there. And I didn't need any more fiber. I am still working through a ton of Angora from this summer that I had clipped and just I've been blending it and doing things like that with it, but I haven't really spun it. But something about these colors just grabbed me. I gravitated towards these colors on the whole day that day, on the yarns that I bought and on this fiber that I bought. And so this was a bag that I got. It was from Alchemist. Nope, I keep wanting to say Alchemist. It's Elk, A-L-K, and me. I think she's on Instagram too. I'll link her down below. Alchemist Bag for Spinners is what this was called. So this is 8 ounces of fibers, locks, and add-ins. I can't remember if I got anything that says what this actually is. So I guess I'll have to check that and I'll put it down below. I don't know what the braids are. They're actually, I thought they were both the same braids, but now that I'm looking at them, I don't think they are. This one almost looks like merino to me, but it might not be. But these are two different. They're the same color dyes, but they definitely picked up the dye differently. And this has some texture in it. I don't know if you can see it, but it picked up colors differently. So these are two different braids that I got. And I think there's some silk in here. There are definitely some locks. I'm going to show you how to tailspin locks. No, that's not where I got my name from, actually. I chose Tailspin Farm years and years and years ago when we started. I always felt like I was moving in a tailspin because it was so much new stuff to me, and that kind of trended over into my blog that I started doing. And so, but tail spinning yarn is a thing, so we're going to do a little bit of that today. Tail spinning isn't something I do on a regular basis. I can do it, but it's not something that I do on a regular basis at all. And so I'll give you the basic gist of it. I thought I was pulling hay out of this. There are some, it's not hay, it's definitely some add-ins into this fiber, or these bats. Looks like sari silk maybe. So I will show you how to tailspin. I'm still debating as I sit here, even now filming this video. I'm not quite sure what I want to do with this. I think what I'm gonna do, I talked about in a couple videos ago that I didn't have my Monarch back, and I am filming ahead constantly, and so I don't know when you see this. I may have my Monarch back, but today I'm going to be working on my Echo with a 4-ounce bobbin, and so that's what I have right now to work on. And I think what I'm going to do for now is, since this is 8 ounces, I'm gonna split all of this in half. And I'm actually, and again, I'm processing this as I'm doing it. I think I'm going to pause this and take you over to the table, and I'll show you how to separate out fibers into halves. I probably won't measure it, but I can get a pretty good feel for where half and half is. You can, if you want to be exact, you can get a little, I just have like a food scale that I use. You can buy those anywhere, and maybe for the purpose of this video, I will go and get that before I start showing you. So let's start out by separating all of this fiber into 2 separate 4-ounce piles, and then we'll come back to the wheel and spin. Okay guys, I've got my scale here. This is just, like I said, a food scale that I got probably at Meijer or Walmart. And I know that the total of this package that I got was 8 ounces. So let's measure the braid. And this one is 3.20 ounces. This one is going to be a little bit less, 3.15. They're almost equal, so I'm going to separate them right in half. And pull the braid apart. Let's start from the right end. There we go. If you get the right end, it just comes undone just like this. It's essentially, when you see these braids, it's a crocheted chain is essentially what it is, how they've done these. So I'm going to do, again, I want about 1.5, 1.6 ounces. So I'm gonna, hopefully you can see this, there is kind of a middle that I can see in here, and I'm gonna pull there and see what we come up with. I'm not gonna be exact on this because that's not actually my personality. And so if I get close to that, I'm gonna be happy. And when you pull the braids apart, they do look very different. I'll try to remember, I did a fractal spinning video, I'll try to link it up above, and show you what pulling apart your yarn in different ways does for your colors on your yarn. It's super interesting. And so this one should be, oops, I'm getting fiber all over here. Make sure this should be about 1.47. That's pretty good. I'm gonna take it. So these are about 1.5 ounces each. We'll separate those. This one was the same. It was 320, so about the same thing. And again, just pull it to undo the beautiful braid. There's something about a gorgeous yarn braid or fiber braid. Again, I look for the center and pull, and I'm just gonna strip this down all the way. I can't wait to see what this yarn ends up looking like. It's going to be super interesting. So again, this one should be about 1.5 ounces. This is 1.64. I'm going to keep it at that. So we've got almost equal amounts here, equal amounts in our other braid. You could separate out the colors if you wanted to. I think this is 1 ounce, just over 1 ounce. So I think I will split this, and this isn't, I'm just kind of splitting it where it splits. 0.48, that's pretty darn good. So that will be a pile, and this will be a pile. All right, now for our little, again, I'm not sure if this was listed anywhere. I'm seeing silk, I think, in some of this. So these are just some different add-ins, and these are pretty easy to separate when they're this short. I'm just gonna pull it like that, and it's pretty equal. So each one of those goes into a pile. Same here. And there's not a lot of this, so I'm gonna show you how I'll divide it when I spin it. I'm gonna just pick up as I go along. I'm not gonna card any of this together. And, oh, this is super soft. I wonder what that is. I'm not sure, but that's beautiful. Separate. This one is the last one. And as I spin this, I'm not gonna card it. I'm going to just, let me show you what those ended up looking like. I have 2 piles here with pretty equal amounts on each. And like I said, I'm not gonna card this or anything. I'm going to just take it in my lap and do a bobbin each. I'll keep these piles separate, and I will spin them as I go along. So I'm gonna add things in as I spin, and you'll be able to see that. Okay guys, I have my 2 piles, my even piles. I put 1 back in the bag. So this is half of the bag that I got. And again, I am going to add things in as I go along. A lot of this only has a very small amount, and so I will use it in small amounts as I spin the fiber. I am going to actually start, all of this will be add-ins, so I'm just setting it here, sorry. sitting here next to me, and I have the two separate, oh, here's another add-in piece right there. So I have the two braids that I separated out. I'm going to spin off from those. And this is definitely going to be an art yarn. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate them each again, so I have a smaller amount to work with in my hand. So these will be divided into 4s. All right, I've got these separated again, so they're a little bit thinner to work with, and I'm just going to hold them together. If you're new at this, you're probably going to want to separate braids out a little bit more, so you have what they would call a pencil roving, which would be a thin piece like this, so it's really easy to spin and get your twist into it. I'm going to just hold these two thinner pieces together, and I'm going to start, whoops, this is my echo. I'm going to start spinning, and I don't have an empty bobbin right now. I've been doing a lot of spinning and filming lately, so my bobbins all have something on it. So hopefully we can get the full 4 ounces on this one. So I am going to spin this. This is going to be more of an art spun yarn, just by the way I'm going to spin it and do the add-ins and things like that. So I am just working with, and when I do art spun yarn, I don't do, sometimes I do, but typically I don't do crazy art spun yarn for the most part. I like to do thick and thin pieces. To do that, you just pull out thicker pieces right through here. If you want to thin that out, you would thin it out. It's what you let out of your, this is my left hand, and into my right hand. That's how I spin. But you might spin the opposite hand, where your left is kind of in the lead, closer to your wheel, and then you would just do the same thing. So I'm just taking my time. I'm going to get a start to the spinning, and then again, I don't have a ton of add-ins, so I'm going to spread those out as much as I can. There are a couple ways. Let me do this. Let me get just one piece here. I've kind of shifted this other piece off to the side. So let's do a lock type. There are a couple different ways to do this. So, and I have a couple different types of locks also. These are from different animals, obviously. This is a much crimpier, shorter piece. This is a longer lock. And there are a couple different ways you can do this. You could pull this short one apart and just kind of add it in to your work. So using the same method that you do when you connect your working fiber to your leader, you just kind of put it next door to it and let some twist go into it. And then it should grab it just like that. And so you can keep it where you see the crimp, which hopefully this will focus. I feel like it's there. So it would be where you could see the crimp a little bit. You can blend it in with your piece that you're working on. Like this is my braid piece here, so I might just add a little bit of this right there and make it really fun, just like that. And that kind of shows off that crimp a little bit. So that's one way, or a couple of different ways you can do that. Again, if I was carding all of this together, it would be a completely different beast. Tail spinning is about the same way. Let me get just a one piece here and show you a tailspin. I don't know if I'm going to do the whole thing that way. To tailspin, you just essentially take one of the tails and you're going to do it where you start spinning and getting it connected. Whoops, just a minute. Let me spread this out just a little bit here. Let the end get connected right there, and you spin it in, and then you leave it. And then, oh, that one that did not do what I wanted it to do. There it is. Then you have this piece, which would be called tailspun. You can leave it long or short, and that becomes part of your yarn. All right, and then you just let it feed in. That's the only bad thing about using the 4-ounce bobbin is this is going to end up having lots of texture to it. And so I don't know that I'll get all the 4 ounces on here. Let me do this one with grabbing it right there. And there's some tailspun. You just want to make sure it's connected up here. And there's another piece. You just let it fly through. So that's how we're going to do all of these add-ins. So I'm going to sit here for a while, and I am going to get one of my bobbins done here, and I'll show you once I'm done the finished product. Okay guys, it is a few days later and I am back. I have finished the yarns. I had, if you remember, well, you're gonna watch the video. It's been a few days for me. Back at the beginning of the video, I had 2 different braids and a bunch of add-ins that I got. I did end up having add-ins left. Not a lot, but I didn't think I'd have any when I got done. So what I did was take the 2 braids and I separated them in half. And I decided to spin 2 of the halves together with the add-ins. So I made an art yarn with that. And then with the other 2 halves, I just spun them together to make a, it's not real consistent yarn. It's more of it's definitely a hand spun yarn. A little bit of thicken thing going on in there. So I've made 2 separate skeins of yarn from the same braids, one with add-ins, one without, and I want to show those to you. So this is the braid with the add-ins, and I did post some of the pictures and videos on my Instagram channel on the bobbin and stuff, but I've taken them off the bobbin. The red you see is just what I had here to tie it off. So that's not part of the skein. That's just yarn I used to tie off the skein. Isn't that gorgeous? All of the pops of color. And let's see, I wanted to show you, I did some tail spinning in there. So there is, this kind of yarn isn't for everyone. it may drive some people crazy because they just don't like all the bits and bobbles and stuff. But there's not a ton of it, and there's no rhyme or reason to how I did it. I just kind of added it as I went along, making the yarn. So it's not like I didn't measure every couple yards and add stuff in. I just kind of spun, and as I went along, I added in the different things. Some of the add-ins were just weren't even like locks or anything. They were just some, I don't know if this is silk or if it's, I don't know. She didn't have a listing of all the stuff in here, but some of it was just pieces of really soft fibers, and different things. And then of course I had the locks and stuff. So I have a whole bunch of this random little stuff that I keep on hand. I'll have to use it up here at some point, but I'll put that in my stash to use for another time. So there's the first one that I did with the add-ins. And the second one is just the 2 braids spun together. And again, I did not, as I was spinning, and I think you could probably see that in the video, I just added, I would start with one of the braids and then I'd stop and I'd put the other braid in and start working on that. So there's no rhyme or reason to how I did it. I didn't section it off. I didn't do it in specific colors, but this is how just the normal braid, just spun, no add-ins, turned out. So they're really beautiful. And I could do a couple different things with these. I think what I'm gonna do, I haven't even measured them yet. I just took them off my my Nitty Nutty. There's a couple things you can do with these, and some of the art yarns you have to be very particular in the pattern that you choose. This one not so much because there's not a ton of stuff going on in it. Some of the art yarns have big, huge bobbles or lots of tail spinning to them. And if you want to showcase that, you're going to want to pick the right pattern to go with that. For this one, I think I'm going to pick a very basic, because I'm going to keep these. I think I'm going to pick a very basic, just a cowl. And you wouldn't want a pattern with like a pattern to it. You know, you can get the lacy patterns or the motifs throughout the crocheting or knitting that you're doing. You wouldn't want that because the yarn itself is the art, in my opinion, or the beauty in the work that you're going to put it into, the pattern that you're going to put it into. And so I'm just going to pick a very simple cowl, I think. I'm guessing, I don't know, this is kind of a thick yarn. I want to say there's at least 100 yards here, but I'm not positive because I haven't measured it. But I will check and see. The other option I have, if I wanted to make something bigger, is I could use both of these because they are the same colors, essentially. One of them's different, and I thought about doing maybe a back and forth pattern where I switch the yarn every couple rows or something. So I'm not sure yet, but stay tuned. I'm sure I will come up with something to make out of these. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with this project. I love spinning my Angora, but I love getting braids like this because the colors are so much fun to work with. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you don't already, please subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate that very much. Don't forget to click the like button on this video, and I have a ton of other videos out there on my channel. Go watch those, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day and a great weekend, and I hope you're creating something. Bye.